Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're doing something a little different, a bit more personal, you could say.
Ooh, intriguing. Lay it on me.
Well, we received a really interesting piece of source material, a YouTube video of someone taking, like an IELTS practice speaking test.
Okay, IELTS. So we're diving into the world of language assessment today. Sounds fun.
It is, but it's more than that, actually. It's kind of like we get to be culture detectives today, because this test, it wasn't just about grammar and vocabulary. The questions, they really dug into this person's life, their routines, their lugs and hates.
Fascinating. It's amazing how much we can learn about someone just by listening to how they talk about their day-to-day.
Yeah.
Like their anxieties, their hopes, it all kind of seeps in, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Peel back those layers and see what we can uncover, what makes this person tick. So right off the bat, one of the first things we learn about the speaker is their morning routine.
The morning ritual. Tell me, are they a jump out of bed and go type?
Not so much. They're more into easing into the day,
A slow waker-upper.
Totally. They wake up slowly. They like to do their skincare routine, maybe scroll through their phone a bit before tackling any major tasks.
That's pretty interesting, especially because they contrast it with their childhood. If I remember correctly, they said they just did whatever back then.
Yeah.
No real structure.
Exactly. Now they really value having a set routine. It brings them a sense of, stability maybe?
It makes me wonder if they might be what Gretchen Rubin calls an upholder from her 4 tendencies framework. Remember that? Upholders, they thrive on routines, meeting expectations, both inner and outer. It's really important to them.
Oh, I love that you brought that up. The 4 tendencies, it adds a whole new dimension, doesn't it? And speaking of routines, they also mention wanting to add meditation to their mornings. Do you think that points to the upholder tendency too?
It could. Or, could also be a sign of growing awareness of mindfulness trends and wanting a bit more inner peace, right? Which ties in nicely with that whole slow living movement that's been gaining traction.
Pushing back against the hustle. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, think about your own morning routine. Has it changed much over the years?
It really has. I used to be all about hitting that snooze button, but now, even just a few minutes of stretching or journaling makes a world of difference.
Right. It's amazing how our routines can evolve as we learn more about ourselves, what we need to actually function.
Okay.
Okay, enough about mornings. Let's move on to something a bit more colorful, shall we say. Flowers.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The speaker was practically gushing about their love for flowers, weren't they? So enthusiastic.
Totally. They were especially captivated by the sheer variety of them, all those different types and colors. They even mentioned getting flowers as a gift recently, and were totally fascinated by the different blooms.
It wasn't just about the beauty, right? There was an appreciation for the diversity, the complexity of flowers, something deeper than just pretty petals. Yeah,
exactly. And they specifically said that in their culture, flowers are a really big deal. Birthdays, weddings, even just a simple thank you.
Right. It highlights the importance of ritual, how objects become imbued with cultural significance.
It's true. I mean, a bouquet of flowers is way more than just, a bunch of pretty plants.
It's a symbol, right, of celebration, maybe affection, a way to say things that words can't quite capture.
Totally. And then there's that part where they talk about sunflowers. They've never actually touched one in real life, only seen them in pictures. And you can just hear the longing in their voice.
The elusive sunflower. It's funny because sunflowers often symbolize, joy, optimism, all that good stuff.
But for the speaker, they represent something almost unattainable, a kind of beauty they've only glimpsed through images. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. I wonder if it speaks to a deeper longing, a desire for experiences that lie beyond their current reality.
No, that's a really interesting thought. It just goes to show how something as, simple as a flower can hold such powerful personal meaning. But moving right along, let's shift gears a bit and talk about food.
Food, the universal language. What did our speaker have to say about that?
Well, first off, they admitted they aren't really into cooking.
No, not a fan of the culinary arts.
Not so much, but they do love to bake, especially when, boredom strikes. What do you make of that?
Interesting. Maybe it's a need for a creative outlet, or perhaps comfort and predictability,
Yeah.
Baking with all its precise measurements, the step-by-step instructions, it can be quite soothing, especially when life feels a bit out of control.
A little bit of order in the chaos. And they did say they enjoy it, so maybe it's a way to unwind, de-stress. But speaking of food, they were also pretty upfront about not having the healthiest diet.
Oh, right. They kind of just eat whatever is available, which I guess is pretty common these days.
Yeah, they even mentioned ordering food like 2 or 3 times a week. Not surprising with all the delivery apps around.
It's so easy to just, click a button and have whatever you want delivered straight to your door.
Yeah.
But it does make you think about the trade-offs, doesn't it? Convenience versus, healthy eating habits.
Definitely food for thought, pun intended. But hold on, because then they shared this really heartwarming story about making pasta arrabbiata for their father.
Oh, pasta arrabbiata. Go on.
So their mom was away, and they decided to step out of their comfort zone and make this dish, from scratch. And it was something their dad really loved.
Oh, that's sweet. Really taking one for the team there.
It's like this turning point in their culinary journey. They went from not really into cooking to making this special meal for someone they cared about.
That's where that concept of food as a love language really shines through. It's not just about sustenance. It's about care, affection, all expressed through the act of cooking. They didn't just grab a jar of sauce, did they? Making it from scratch with fresh tomatoes, that shows effort.
It really does. It's like each ingredient carries a story, a memory. And by choosing to make something homemade, they were nourishing more than just their father's stomach, They were nurturing their bond.
Absolutely. Creating a shared experience. It's more than just a meal. It's a moment of connection.
Food, glorious food. It really is amazing how much a simple conversation about what we eat can reveal so much about who we are, right? Our values, those little anxieties, those big dreams. But hey, enough about the kitchen. Let's move on to the entertainment portion of our deep dives, movies.
Ah, yes. Movies. Now, what did our speaker have to say about their viewing habits?
Well, the first thing that jumps out is this contrast they make between going to the cinema and watching movies at home. Seems like they really value that big screen experience, especially for new releases.
A true cinemaphile, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Someone who appreciates the grandeur of the theater.
Exactly. They specifically talked about IMAX and how much they enjoy that total sensory immersion, larger than life visuals, that booming sound system. It's like they want to be fully transported into another world.
It makes you think about how the role of cinema has evolved, hasn't it? I mean, with streaming services, we have endless options at our fingertips. Going to a theater now, it's become more of a conscious choice, a deliberate act to engage with film in a very specific way.
It's almost like a ritual, right? That shared anticipation, the collective gasps and laughter from the audience, that feeling of being swept away by the story together. That's hard to replicate at home.
Absolutely. And I wonder if that need for a shared experience also plays into their preference for watching horror movies with company. If I recall, they mentioned not being able to handle the fear factor alone.
Oh, tell me about it. I'm exactly the same with horror movies. Gotta have someone to hold my hand, scream with me. It's like I need a buffer, Someone to share the emotional roller coaster.
Right. It's like having a co-pilot for your fear. You're processing those scary bits together, picking up on each other's cues and reactions, and it somehow makes it, less terrifying.
It's like a collective exhale when the jump scare is over. Or that shared giggle at a cheesy special effect makes the whole thing less isolating, more, manageable.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the flip side. Their preference for watching indie films alone. That's an interesting contrast.
It is. It suggests a different type of engagement, doesn't it? More introspective, personal, maybe even a bit more intellectual.
Right. Indie films, they often deal with more, complex themes, nuanced characters, unconventional narratives. They kind of demand a certain level of attention, a willingness to really think about what you're watching. And maybe that's easier to do in solitude.
Yeah, it's like creating a space for quiet contemplation, letting the film wash over you without any outside distractions or interpretations, a direct line between the viewer and the art. So wow, we've gone from the structure of their morning routine to the emotional depth of flowers, the comfort of baking, and now the shared thrills and chills of movie nights. It's amazing how much we've gleaned from just listening to someone talk about their everyday life.
Isn't it? It's a testament to the richness of human experience, the power of observation. Even the most seemingly mundane details can offer these incredible insights into someone's personality, their values, their unique way of navigating the world.
And that brings us back to you, dear listener. If you were taking this IELTS test, what would your answers reveal? What pieces of your life would you choose to highlight? What would those choices say about you?
What routines, passions, worries, or dreams would you share? And what would those details tell us about who you are at your core? about your values, your cultural background, your own unique journey through life.
It really is remarkable, isn't it? How much we can glean about someone just by listening to them talk about their everyday life. It's like we've pieced together this mosaic of a person, their little quirks, their big dreams, what makes them, well, them.
And you know what really struck me? The speaker's journey with cooking. They started off not really into it, then found this unexpected joy in baking, and ultimately they kind of triumphed, right? Making that meal for their father. It speaks volumes about the power of, pushing past our comfort zones, embracing those new experiences.
And that detail about making the pasta sauce from scratch with fresh tomatoes instead of just grabbing a jar, that to me says a lot about their intention, like they were seeking a deeper connection to the food, maybe even a little rebellion against the overly processed, the too convenient.
Yeah, I see that. It echoes a broader trend we're seeing, right? This return to simpler, more wholesome cooking. An emphasis on fresh, local ingredients. It's almost like a reclaiming of our food, our health.
Like saying, hey, I'm taking back control here. I'm going to nourish myself with intention. But, as we wrap up this deep dive, it's worth considering the bigger picture. This IELTS test, it wasn't just about language, was it? It was like this unexpected window into the human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a glimpse into one person's unique world, but it kind of holds up a mirror to our own lives, doesn't it? Our routines, our passions, those little things that make us tick.
It's a good reminder that even in the most ordinary conversations, there are layers of meaning just waiting to be discovered. Every little detail, every choice, every story we share, it tells a part of who we are.
So the next time you're chatting with someone, whether it's a close friend or, somebody you just met, take a moment to really, truly listen.
Pay attention to the things they choose to share. What lights them up? What moments of vulnerability do they let you in on?
You might be surprised by what you learn, not just about them, but about yourself too. It's been an absolute pleasure diving deep with you today.
Always a joy to explore those hidden depths, those unexpected connections. And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.